Hello and welcome to the Muster Room Podcast. I'm Joe Ryder, and with me as always are retired detective Eric Potts and police officer Austin Glickman. Together, we have over 50 years of experience as first responders. And in this podcast, we break down the life-altering calls with the officers that live them and discuss the tolls these calls have in the days, weeks, and years afterwards.
911, what's your emergency?
All right, man, drop your bag for me, man. Got a warrant.
Shots fired. Shots fired. What's the location? Holding pistol. Shots fired.
Before we begin, I want to advise you that the incidents discussed in this episode are real and traumatic. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, so again, everybody, welcome to the Muster Room Podcast. We're here with what I believe is probably going to be the most inspirational guest that we have this season, by far.
Absolutely.
By far. So with no further ado, let's jump into it. Matias, welcome to the Muster Room.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having me here. I'm pretty excited.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah,
No, we appreciate it.
super, super excited. This is going to be a great episode. We're going to talk about your time in the military as a Marine, and then we're going to go into your time as a police officer with the Suffolk County Police Department here on Long Island. And we're going to talk about your recovery process, about how you lost both your legs over in Afghanistan in 2011. So let's jump into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself before anything.
So, like I've introduced myself, Matias Ferreira. I was born in a very small country. A lot of people don't know where it is in South America. It's Uruguay, and right next to Argentina. Most people know where that place is, right? In Brazil. And my mom and dad wanted to move to the United States to pursue the American dream, right? My mom, her brother lived in Atlanta, and the 1996 Olympics were kind of approaching at the time in Centennial Park. And they thought it was a pretty good opportunity to, show the kids, my older brother, my younger brother, myself, what it was like in a different country, And so we came to visit and meet the cousins that we didn't even know we had, and just kind of fell in love with the whole idea of, being able to be in a family household and going to, Six Flags and just doing all the things that, a family does on an everyday basis and not have to worry about, getting robbed in the middle of the street or something like that, right? So my parents fell in love with the idea of the American dream and us going to school and continue education and them getting jobs and just basically setting a life for ourselves. And, unfortunately at the time we had to go back to Uruguay. And my parents were doing pretty good for themselves. My dad was in dentistry and my mom was in telecommunications. And, my brothers and I were in private school, Catholic school at the time. And so we were doing okay. But, as you get a little older, the path of success is not as large as it is here in the United States. So if you weren't really tightened down or, kind of niched down, you could essentially end up in the wrong side of the neighborhood and maybe selling drugs or stealing from people, because that's, unfortunately a thing that happens in the small neighborhoods. And so our parents wanted us to stay away from that. So we ended up applying for visas, and we came here on a student visa. My parents had taxpayer IDs and whatnot to try to, do everything the right way. And we just we fell in love. We fell in love with being able to go to school and learn a new language, just really grow. And I'll never forget, my parents and I were walking down Centennial Park, and a lot of people, as you can imagine, law enforcement, military, and so on and so forth. And I see this man in uniform, wearing his dress blues, which is what I know at the time, was a police officer. I was like, oh, he's a police officer. My dad giggles, and he's like, no, he's not a police officer. He's a Marine.
Right.
And I go, what do Marines do? Are they not like police officers? And he goes, no, they're here to defend, the good people from the bad people, is the best way that he could describe it to a 6-year-old at the time.
Right.
All I remember is just seeing these shiny medals and this sharp uniform and this really bright white hat. And I was like, man, I want to be that when I grow up. And of course, my dad and I just kind of laughed, giggled, and we went on. But, little did he know that image of that man in that uniform stuck with me for the entire rest of my young adulthood life.
Yeah.
And so now school is going around. And again, growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, we weren't really quite impacted as much as the people here in New York on 9/11. I was in 8th grade. And as a matter of fact, I remember getting in trouble because I was in class with Miss Fox in science, right? Never forget what happened. And I look up to the TV.
Miss Fox always causes trouble.
Fox always causes trouble,
Because I had a Miss Fox. And she just,
I had so many suspensions from Miss Fox.
Yeah, Miss Fox,
I don't know
if you're listening to this, I apologize. But I remember looking up the TV and getting in trouble because I started laughing at the TV. I saw the towers collapsing, and I thought maybe it was a show or a movie. I didn't know that what was going on. I was like, wow, look at that. The plane went into the building. And again, we're in that 7th, 8th grade, and we didn't realize it was live news.
Yeah.
And of course, the kids start crying, and everybody start crying that they have an aunt or an uncle that lives there because, of course, their parents wouldn't be living there if we live in Atlanta. And so now we go home, and I just remember my parents looking like, wow, that's a disgrace what happened. And, it set this big picture in my head of that guy in uniform again. I'm like, man, I bet you he's getting ready to go and fight the bad guy, like Dad said. Yeah. And so now the time goes by, and of course we're getting into high school, and my younger brother wants to be a doctor. My older brother wants to be a teacher, and everybody wants to go, do all these things. And I was like, I'm going to be a Marine when I get out of here. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And so time starts going by, and we're signing, scholarships and this and that to go here for this school and that. And I was like, I'm not going to college. I'm going to the military. And my mom's freaking out. She's like, no, there's a war going on, and you don't need to go over there. And I was like, Mom, listen.
Which is a normal response.
It's a normal response, from a parent. My dad, of course, was like, I'm proud of you, son. He's like, go. He's like, one less guy I got to send to college, But, I just couldn't get that gentleman out of my head. And I remember, what better opportunity for me to go fight for our family, to a country that had given so much to us, and really fulfill that American dream, and defend our last name. And so, of course, graduation comes and high school comes, and I had a bunch of scholarship to go play football because I was a kicker in football, and I played soccer my entire life.
And you're a big dude.
I'm a big guy now. Back then, I was probably like 130, 35 pounds, soaking wet, So I definitely gained weight throughout the military,
Muscle.
I now have a choice to make. Do I really want to do this, or do I want to, maybe play sports, go to school, probably flunk out? I wasn't paying attention. The only reason why I wanted to go to school was to play sports and hang out with my friends. That was just the kind of personality I had, you know? So now I end up enlisting, and the guy's like, listen, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to go infantry. He goes, no problem, sign right here. That's like the recruiter's dream.
Like,
he's like,
that's easy.
I'll take it. He's like, you don't want a signing list bonus or something? I don't want anything. Just send me to the closest one you have.
Wow.
So now I signed the dotted line, and I go down to Florida for the time, because I was living in Georgia, and I went to Florida for a vacation with friends. And I wasn't supposed to leave till December 7th, which is Pearl Harbor Day. So I just remember that's the day I'm going to boot camp.
Yeah.
And, I think like maybe June. It must have been May or June. I'm in Florida with my friends enjoying the time, and I'm like going to sleep after a day at the beach, and it's 11:30, and I hear my phone ring, and it says Staff Sergeant Beck. And I'll never forget that phone call. I'm looking at my phone like, why is he calling me at like 11:30 at night? I was like, oh my God, they found out something. I wasn't supposed to be there or something. I don't know. So I just remember picking up the phone. He's like, hey, this is Staff Sergeant Beck, United States Marine Corps. He's like, this is Matias Ferreira. I was like, yes, sir. He's like, you still want to be a Marine? I said, yes, sir. He's like, do you want to go tomorrow? I was like, tomorrow? I said, I'm supposed to leave December 7th. He goes, well, somebody dropped out, and it's yours if you want it.
Wow.
I was like, yes, I'm in. I'm taking it. So I wake up everybody up in the apartment. You can just imagine how pissed off they are. Then I'm waking them up at 11:30. I'm like, I got to go. I got to go back to Georgia to do my PFT, which is the personal fitness test.
Yeah.
I got to complete the 3-mile run, the pull-ups, and the sit-ups at like 2 a.m. so they can send me off.
Jesus.
And so, you got to admit, I'm doing a lot of stuff to get in here for free.
How far of a drive is it from Florida to Georgia?
It's probably like a 6-hour drive, 6-hour drive.
You regret not taking that signing bonus now,
Yeah,
don't you?
I wish I would have taken that sign-on bonus.
So what do you pack the car and you get the fuck out of there?
I just had a backpack, man. I just had some shorts, a t-shirt, some deodorant, maybe a cologne. I was ready to rock. I was, let's go.
Yeah, you don't need much when you're going to boot because they're giving you everything.
No, I meant because you were on vacation.
I was on
Florida.
vacation, but we were only there for the weekend, so just a couple pair of shorts, some swimming trunks, and back in the day, it wasn't like it is now. Now I got to pack extra legs, I got to pack medication, and all that good stuff. But I end up getting back there, and I complete the PFT, and I'll never forget. I'm doing the swearing-in ceremony, and my mom's there, my dad is there, my brothers are there, and I'm just sitting at this desk. I got my shirt tucked in, thinking that I'm doing something right here, and I cut my hair, because I knew I was going, and so I get on that bus. I get off at Parris Island, South Carolina, in Beaufort. And all of a sudden, I'm just sitting there, like heads down. We put our heads down. The bus pulls into where we're going, and I feel like I'm going to some kind of camp or something. I'm like, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah, camp.
Camp, exactly, like summer camp. And I just remember this guy, giant. This guy was a giant with the smoky hat. Comes on, get off my bus, just like that. Just doesn't say, just get off my bus. So we're all just like kind of walking slowly, and then you hear the yelling and the screaming, and the pit bulls come out. You know,
God, I remember it.
There's like little yellow footprints.
So it's just a bunch of DIs.
Just a bunch of DIs.
Screaming their heads off at you
Drill
guys.
instructors screaming, yelling. We don't understand what they're saying. It's that frog voice like,
Right.
come on. And they're just, I'm like, what is going on right now? I said,
Yeah.
I thought I signed up for, I thought they wanted me here, Like, I thought they wanted me here. So I'm sitting there on those yellow footprints and I'm trying to keep still. And I try to watch some Google videos, your YouTube videos of what you're supposed to expect, but you don't really know what you're expecting. In the moment, everything shuts off. And we get inside and my pens are not working and they're telling us to write stuff down. So I'm pretending I'm writing it like if, it mattered. He's like, what's wrong with you? It's not writing. What are you doing? And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what did I sign up for? You know?
Because your pen's not working, you get dropped for push-ups,
Exactly.
right? Like,
Come
come
on,
on, man.
It's not my fault. You gave me this pen. But now
you can't say that though.
well, I couldn't say anything.
You can't.
I couldn't say anything. I'm just looking at the people around me and I'm like, this is just
I'm
chaos.
fucked. I'm fucked.
Fucked.
Yeah, that's what you're
This
thinking.
is just chaos, So now, of course, they think that, they what do you think? You're cute or something? You already cut your hair, because they shave your hair there while you're there. It's just
I
all
wouldn't have that issue.
well, now you would. I'm sure
good.
you had hair back in the day,
I lost it at 16.
You know what they say? They say the
Damn.
most handsome men in the world are bald.
That's
so
right.
I'll give you that.
What happened
brother.
to you?
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, I was born with it.
That's conversation for another day, right?
Yeah.
But now it's just chaos, controlled chaos, I would like to say. And of course, like the months keep passing by and you're learning and you're doing everything that I thought we'd be doing, all like the obstacle courses and the gas chambers and the shooting range. And I'm like, man, this is what I signed up for.
That's
Here
all
we
the
go.
fun stuff.
This is the fun stuff. You
And
know?
what about the sucky stuff? I mean, they must have had you guys up super early in the morning running for miles and miles.
I mean, I'm talking about guys kind of bear crawling, or even just crawling under our racks in the middle of the night, pouring water on us and waking us up and
These
messing
are
with the
DIs doing that?
all the DIs. They were messing with us
They
all
do
the time.
anything they can do to screw with you.
Yeah,
Make
so
your life miserable.
I wasn't
all the
military like
time.
the two of you guys. I just only know from really movies, YouTube videos, so I don't really know exactly what that's like.
It's everything you see on there. They try to pretend it's Hollywood, but it's not.
Yeah.
A lot of it's true. And it was probably some of the best times I've had in my life because at that point, and we'll get into this, I guess, later, but the difference between law enforcement and military, you're there with your brothers. You're there with like 40 other people and you embrace this suck together and you know what? You talk. That's what I think one of the biggest issues that I've had in law enforcement, or at least understanding, is communication.
I think that's the name of this episode, Embrace the Suck.
Embrace the suck.
I like that.
I like it.
Yeah.
We
Embrace the
need
suck.
those shirts. Embrace
the suck.
And,
I like
the
that.
other thing about basic training is when you're in basic training, you're going through that. Looking back on it, it's tough, but you're proud of yourself because you're doing it and you're going through it, and it's the most challenging stuff you ever do, and you keep doing it. You go, I did it, did it, and that's the whole purpose. It builds that confidence in that Marine or soldier. It's what it builds in you. So,
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's what the point of the DIs were. They say they break you down and build you back up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's terminology, the build you back up. The build you back up is really just teaching you what you're capable of doing.
Exactly.
When people say, oh, they built you back up the way they wanted you. No, they pushed you to your limits to see where you can push and push even more.
Yeah.
So now we get through all that stuff, and I'll never forget the graduation day. You're on, you're out there marching around in front of your family and you just have this sense of accomplishment. A lot of us have only completed high school. What else did you do in your 18 years of life? Maybe won a trophy for champions for the football team. Like, who cares about that stuff?
Yeah.
That's stuff that makes you proud of the moment. But once you find something else that makes you feel even better, then, of course, that's going to hold a special place in your heart. And little did I know, as well as you probably know, or even, completing the academy, is that was just the beginning.
Yeah.
Now I remember I signed that contract for no bonus, the infantry school. Yeah, that's where it gets tough.
Yeah.
So now we go home for a week and you feel like, you're walking around with the dog tags, you think you're the cool guy. Hey, what do you do for, I'm a SEAL, the war stories come, this guy just graduated boot camp, you can tell. They can tell when you're the new guy,
Yeah.
And I go back and I get assigned to the School of Infantry Charlie Company. We called it Concentration Charlie because it was insane. It was just they were just always honest all the time. And you start off with what's called 03 open. Anything in the 03, which is 03 field, it's infantry.
Okay.
So you have the option to go either machine gunner, mortarman, assaultman, tow gunner. And I was assigned to the machine gunners, which is like I said, at the time I was 145 pounds.
Yeah.
I don't know why they picked me, but
It's a lot of weight.
it's a lot of weight. You're breaking down the 50 cal, the mod deuce, you're taking the barrel off,
How
the
much
tri-stop.
does that weigh? Does the gun itself weigh?
The gun itself is probably like 40 pounds. The
Easy.
barrel's another like 40 pounds. And
Got
the tripod's like another 40 pounds. So again, teamwork. We
It's about
break
the
it
same
down.
weight as you.
Pretty much.
145
exactly.
pounds.
You're pretty much carrying your own weight,
Wow.
and some people were lucky enough to be in a weapons company, which is now mounted on the MRAPs and the Humvees and whatever. And then you have guys in the line platoon like myself. We're breaking those guns up and carrying them ourselves across the desert because we don't want to use vehicles to get them somewhere and pretty much diminish that operation of don't figure we're coming. That secrecy or whatever. But we go through that whole school, and that's a couple more months, and that's a lot more fun because now you're starting to learn exercises, and this is like what I really signed up for.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we graduate SOI, the School of Infantry, and they're like, hey, 6 months from now, some of you are going to be in Afghanistan. And I'm looking around like, I don't even know what I'm doing. How I'm going to be in Afghanistan in 6 months.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it comes really quick. We do what's called a workup. You get assigned to a unit. I was assigned to 1st Battalion, 8th Marine, 2nd Marine Division out of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, to Bravo Company. And now in the whole interim of things, they assign you to an actual platoon. And I was assigned to weapons platoon. And that basically means that they're going to utilize our unit and disperse us throughout to have the specialties, the mortarmen, the machine gunners assigned to every single other company.
Right.
And they told us, hey, listen, guys, September, we're going to be deploying to Afghanistan, Helmand to be exact. And at the time, it was pretty hot there. There's a lot of combat going on, a lot of IEDs being placed everywhere, too many guys getting killed. And, we were a little nervous, but excited. And so we do the workup to go there, and September creeps up. September 2010 creeps up. And now, we pack up our stuff, we say goodbye to our families, and we get on a bus, and then on a plane, and then on a helicopter. And
tell me what it was like the night before you actually leave for Afghanistan.
I was with my family, so they let you have a little bit of family time before you deploy. So you pack up the room and you put everything in boxes, and basically your parents take all that stuff with them.
Yeah.
Because when you come back, those barracks won't be there for you. So you're just a little nervous. You're talking about everything but Afghanistan because my parents didn't want to talk about that stuff. They were like, "You're gonna be okay, honey. You're gonna be safe." And one of the things that I've learned about myself, and that's another thing that I've seen in today's world and society, is that, you almost feel like your religion, your faith in God or whatever it is that you believe in strengthens during that time because you're like, man, I'm kind of dependent on you to get me back home. Especially of all the things you hear, you guys getting shot and blown up and killed. It's like, all I thought is you're either coming back or you're not. There's no in between. Yeah. So that was the way that I went with the mentality that I went in with.
Were you scared, nervous, excited?
I was excited. I think I was excited because I finally got to do whatever it is that I waited so long to do. I wanted to go, fight the bad guy, as my dad said when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
So, that all those feelings are mixed, and you get on the bus and you're not even thinking about it. I don't even think I thought about the deployment until I got there. And that was really the surreal feeling. I got off the helicopter, and it is probably 130 degrees because you're like coming off the back of the helicopter, and I'm like, oh, it's not this hot. It's just the turbines, blowing. And then the damn thing takes off, and you're like, holy shit, it's still that hot. And I was like, oh man, I thought it was the hot, the heat from the helicopter. And I just remember putting all my stuff in the FOB, which is the forward operating base. That's where we kind of did all our operations from. And I remember walking with one of my buddies and looking at him, and I'm like, can you believe this shit? I was like, September, we were asking to be here, like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're walking in the streets of Afghanistan. Like, what the hell were we thinking?
Right.
And here we are. So I always tell people, like, be careful what you wish for, because here you are. This is what you wanted to do. So put your big boy pants on and let's go.
Yeah.
Now, when did you arrive in country? What was the date?
September. I got there like September 2nd, and then we didn't get out there to the actual place where we were going to be operating because we have to do a lot of like things before we get out to the, to what we like to call out to theater. We have to zero in our weapons, our ACOGs, make sure all ammo's good. Everybody's in good health. We're assigned to different platoons and so on and so forth. So it took a couple of days to do that.
And this is 2010?
This is 2010. Okay. Yeah, this is 2010. So, 9 years after what happened.
Yeah.
And so now we get into the forward operating base. And of course, there's another unit there. And they're showing us the ropes. They're showing us, hey, where we're going, what we're doing, who these people are. The lieutenants are kind of integrating themselves with the community and the public to meet who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, who are helping us. Right. Like I said, just kind of catch the ropes. I mean, there used to be an interpreter there that used to grab an apple, and he's like, listen, if I put this green apple here, it means that there's an IED in the area. So get your EOD guys here, because if you see a red apple, that's not good. That means that you're going to step on this bad boy, So we had a green apple from time to time, and it worked. Those guys were looking out for us, and they were taking care of us. And unfortunately, the Taliban will go out and kill the entire family for helping the American troops. Yeah. And it was sad because one day you were working with a specific family household or something, and the next day they were gone and you didn't have any help, because they were like, how are you going to tell on your own people type of thing, Yeah. And our mission there was to win the hearts and mind of the people, to basically help them reintegrate themselves in their own community, because imagine in our community, we don't have law enforcement, and now it's just chaos, right? There's nobody to protect the people that, that need help, the people that don't really have, desire to help themselves or even want to do that, and it was sad. It was sad because you saw the children, and I just kind of kept going, flashing back and forth between Uruguay and Afghanistan. It's like, oh, when we were kids, I remember the adults used to take care of us and give us candy and take care of us. And now we're kind of doing the same thing for these kids. You feel bad for them. You kind of wish they had what we had growing up, sneakers on their feet and playing soccer and being able to go to school. And it wasn't like that there. These kids were going to a school where they were in danger. They were playing in the street where it was in danger. They didn't have any shoes, and it just, like I said, it made you think about your blessings and things you have back at home.
And what's the terrain like in Afghanistan?
We were in Helmand Province in Musakela. It was very rocky and a lot of fields, a lot of poppy fields and little mountains, little hills. We wouldn't go too high up in elevation. It was just a lot of flat surfaces and again, just kind of weird terrain, trenches. But it was really just fields and desert. Field and desert. It's like you felt bad for these people. It's like, man, I can't believe there's actually life out here.
Right.
But they did what they could to live their life, and they did okay with the bare minimum, and they were happy. And I would like to think that the people there, they were very happy that we were there. They felt safe.
Yeah.
And they had the ANA, which is the Afghani army, and the military police there as well. But they were nervous as well. They were scared, because it's kind of going against their own people. And a lot of it had to do with politics, They were just like, don't help them. And it's like, okay, we won't help them. So we were there to train them and hopefully build a team of people that we could trust.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be out there with them. We're going to be sleeping with them. We're going to be dining with them. We're going to be fighting with them. And we just wanted to know we were safe, that we didn't have people after us, kind of thing. So that was really the hardest part is working within an environment where you didn't know if you could trust the person left or right of you. You could trust your Marines,
right?
But at some point we got to rest and we got to eat and we got to. I don't want to always be looking over my shoulder to see if we're safe. So we did. We built a pretty good team there, and they were very helpful. The community was very helpful. And now the months start passing by, and you're just like, man, I miss home, but I could do this. It's okay, and it's a job, just like anything else. I'm here to do my job.
Does it at any time start to feel routine?
It does. It does start feeling routine, which is why we say in the military or in law enforcement, don't get complacent. You got to be ready to go, when it's time to go.
Yeah.
And, it was fine. It was just during the heat was the hardest part. But once we settled into the heat, it's dry heat. It was okay. It was all right. And then, I would say October was a tough month for us because October 8th, 2010, we took one of our first casualties was Doc Gonzo, which was our Navy corpsman. They ambushed us and, they had a IED set up and, he stepped on IED and lost his life. And, you just kind of sit there and you just think this is the guy who is here to help us.
Right.
This is Doc.
Yeah.
This is the guy who's going to treat us. He's going to treat the kids. He's going to help the community. Anybody who's sick, anybody who's, not doing so well. Doc was always there, and now Doc's not here. And we took that pretty hard and we heard it from, from other platoons because he wasn't right there with us. And I just remember hearing my other corpsman, Clark, start yelling and screaming out loud. We're like, what happened, Doc? He's like, he's not here anymore. Gonzo's gone. And you're just like 19 years old at the time. And you're like, I never really lost any buddies like that. I never lost anything that I loved, and in a couple of months, we take another casualty. And a couple of months after that, we take another 2 or 3 casualties. And, guys are dying left and right. And it's like, man, this sucks. I want to go home.
Yeah.
I've had enough of this shit.
Yeah.
And every single day you're expected to wake up and do the job, no matter how hard it was to wake up and to continue on. It's not like here where it's like, you lost a loved one and you take bereavement time and, you take your time to get back in. And every day we didn't have that over there. We couldn't. We just had to continue on with the mission. And I don't know if that's brainwashing. I don't know if that's just the reality of the job, or I don't know if that's, the reality of life and war and how ugly it is. But we were just, we weren't robots. We were people. We had feelings, and sometimes we can compartmentalize those feelings. But at the end, at the end of the day, you're just sitting there in the middle of the desert looking out like, I gotta go to work tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like Monday to Sunday.
Now I gotta ask because you're talking about the mental health portion of this because that's where you're at. Did the Marine Corps offer you any type of way to speak about how you're feeling about your friends dying and stuff? No, you were out.
We were out there. It wasn't like, we just lost the guy, let's talk about it type of thing.
Yeah.
It was more of so like a kumbaya moment with our brothers.
Sure.
We sit down, we reminisce, we laugh, we joked. Of course, there's no booze, there's no cigars, we just sat around in a little campfire we built and we laughed it off. And We talked about the good times and how we needed to take care of their families when we got back and make sure they were, taken care of. But they would eventually send a priest out to the fobs where we were to, if you were of a religious background, you could sit down and talk to them and pray and, they could, really talk to you if there was something that you were dealing with.
Yeah.
But at the time, like I said, it wasn't hitting us at the time. It's just like, you're kind of expected to go to work type of thing.
Right.
So you just go. You do your job.
You're in an active war zone.
That's it.
I can only imagine there's only so much you could do.
Right.
You can't let your guard down too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was definitely different, in comparison to law enforcement. Like, we have so many different people here that are willing to help and talk to you and kind of bring you back down and let you reprocess everything. There was no really time to process anything. You just kind of go with the flow. But like I said, there was also a lot of good times with each other, which is what makes that camaraderie so tight.
Yeah.
I knew I had never developed this kind of trust in my entire life, where you can trust the guy left of you when all this is going on, you're scared and you can depend on the guy. Cause I'll tell you right now, anybody who tells you they're not scared, they're lying out of their ass. We were scared.
Yeah.
We were scared. You hear bullets going over your head and you're just like, all right, what's going on? You're just you could reach up and probably grab one if you wanted to,
Yeah.
And so now the months keep passing by and now we're approaching the end of our deployment, and there was a unit there that had become combat ineffective. Essentially, they'd lost so many guys that they're like, we can't operate our mission unless we get help. And so I believe that at the time they were trying to figure out a plan how to move our unit down south and help those guys, to kind of get reestablished with more personnel. And we were doing a night op. We were in a place called 7171, which is a big forward operating base, OP, an observation post. And we were basically running patrols out of there. And we had, extreme weaponry around it, just 360 and, Mark 19, 50 cals, 240 Bravo machine guns, posts with M4s. And, we had technology that was overwatching this place at all times. And they said, all right, we're going to take off from here. We're going to pack up our bags. And we discussed earlier breaking down the weapons and moving as an element surprise. And now, my role was to take the receiver. So I had a receiver on my back, which is like, the 45 pounds of, receiver of the 50 cal. And if anything happened, me and you, we're going to have to put this thing together and get ready to fire at any given time. While other people, put down support fire.
How quick can you get that gun operational?
Pretty quick. I think our 240 Bravos are the ones that you just kind of get off your shoulder and start shooting because they're medium machine guns, 7.62 caliber. The 50 cal, you have to do time and spacing and all this other stuff. So it might take me a couple seconds, but, we can get it up and going, pretty quickly. I would like to say within a minute. That was the only hard part is that, we didn't have the trucks because of the element of surprise. So those guys are already mounted, ready to go. You can't really carry a 50 cal on your back ready to go. It's just almost nearly impossible.
Now, a minute for those who are listening may seem like it's quick.
It's like a year.
When you're taking rounds coming at you, I mean, that's got to feel like fucking forever.
It's forever. It feels like forever. I was very fortunate that, I'm not going to tell war stories here. We didn't have to fight every single day. And the times that we did get in firefights, they were small arm fires. It was rounds going overhead. We didn't know where the enemy was. They were very intelligent. They were shooting at us from the mountains. They could see us. We couldn't see them. And that was kind of the role of our snipers. Our snipers were on point. They were always taking those guys out. And we had a lot of air support. So we had, Cobras and jets flying by with called X-Cows. There's like a 500-pound bomb, eliminate the threat. So those guys were really our guardian angels. But the times that we did get in firefights and stuff, it was scary, man. It was like, what's going on here? Like, is this vest really going to stop one of these rounds, from hitting me right in the chest? What about the face, So now like I said, we packed up everything. We're going across this wadi, which is an open land of water, but at the time it was desert, so no water. And, we finally get there. It like I said, it's like 130 degrees during the day. At nighttime it's like 90, and it feels like it's like 20 degrees because of the change. Your body's not used to that. And so I remember getting there and just having this little skinny shirt on. We call them the frog shirts. You zip it down, you take your stuff off, and and you're fine. But at that time, we had to take over this compound, which we were told IEDs were in place and Taliban were in the area. So we just kept all gear on, and we had 3 teams. An entry team kicks in the door, Overwatch team, which is what I did, make sure that nobody's going to come in and attack us from the flanks, and a capture team just in case somebody ran out the back. So, just like the movies, boom, doors get kicked in, they do their thing. They're clearing with the IED detectors, the dogs. Clear, great. Nothing happened. That's what we want to see. So we walk in, the captain is like, all right, you guys are going to get posted here. You guys are going to go here. You guys are going to go here. 10-4. I got my team, me and a couple other guys. We go on the rooftop where we're told, hey, we're going to put ourselves in here for the night. And I said, no problem, 10-4. We're going to, start digging in and getting bags to the 50 cals, and, everybody else is going to get situated. I don't know what happened, man. You know when you get that feeling that something's not right, and I just get this feeling that something's not right, and I go, you know what? I'm gonna keep all my shit on. You know, it's not. We already walked like freaking forever with it. I might as well keep it on now. So I got my glasses on, my gloves, my vest, you know, all the other gear, and I left my gun. I just took my Beretta 9mm with me, and I jumped off the roof, and then it was like silence. Just didn't hear anything. I'm like, what the hell is this all about? You know, what just happened? You know, and all of a sudden I'm like this, just kind of looking up, and I'm like, did I fall? Did I fall? Was that roof? Like, did I fall through the roof? I don't even know what happened. And all of a sudden, it's just like the movies. I don't know how the hell Hollywood got it so good, but it was like the movies. All you hear is that pin drop and just like, you know, very faded screaming. And it's like, look for secondaries. Don't move. Don't fucking move. Look for secondary. And I'm just like, what is going on right now? And all of a sudden, it's like, bam, just like a dump truck just hit me. I just feel this pain in my pelvis and I can't move to the left or to the right. And I'm like, did I fall? Like, did the roof collapse? You know, and I can't see anything. It's nighttime, you know, and again, I'm looking straight up, so all I can see is the sky. And I start seeing flickering lights everywhere. You know, it's everybody's headlamps that are on. Yeah. And I just hear like the voice going, woof, and just come back too. And he's like, you're going to be all right, buddy. You're going to be all right. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know? And I start looking down and I just see blood everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, I must have got shot. Or, you know, an ID must have gone off or something, you know, because that's what we're trained. You know, that's kind of what you know. Because other than that, how would you know that you stepped on anything? The shock goes into your body and you don't know what's going on. And, you know, I'm pretty surprised this time. And then now my dog, Casey, the guy who's with us, Tommy's like, hey, dude, you're going to be all right. Your nuts are there and we're going to get beer. I'm like, why is he talking about my nuts right now? You know, like, why is Tommy talking about my nuts? And talking about Bud Lights and talking about going to the gentleman's club when we get back to North. What is he trying to do here? Yeah. You know? And then all of a sudden I start feeling the pain in my pelvis. And what happened was I was on the roof. We were jumping off to a platform, which would get us down to the ground. What they did is the Taliban put an IED on the roof of that building, on the little top of the building. And because it had rained a couple of days before, it was compacted into the ground. So when we were walking over it, it wasn't going off because, you know, it wasn't heavy enough to set it off. But me being about 200 pounds with all that gear on, I pressed, you know, the pressure plate, it pressed up, and then the pressure cooker comes up and destroys this little platform, and then my legs are automatically gone because it's packed in with glass and nails and screws and all this other stuff. So the legs are gone around the tibia and the fibia, you know, so I'm pretty much missing like my ankles and feet and maybe through the shin. And because of that, imagine having, you know, your feet and then all of a sudden they're gone and these two sharp things, you land on them and all the pressure goes up. So my pelvis kind of like broke like this. And then the Beretta kind of pushed the femur in and broke my femur. So now that's why I couldn't move because my femur is broken. My pelvis is separated, you know, and my feet are gone. So now all I hear from a distance is like, you know, Bravo, Mike, Fox 7229. They're reading what's called a 9-line medevac. You know, and luckily we had helicopters in the nearby area because we were doing this operation. So now, you know, the helicopter comes in and they're putting me on the litter and my guys are just kind of like, you know, hey, buddy, you going to be all right? And I just remember my buddy McCardle's M4 just fucking slapping me in the face as he's running. And I'm just like trying to like, hey, asshole, you know, like, what are you doing? And, you know, and they're all crying and I can see their tears. And now the morphine's starting to kick in because Doc kind of hit me with 2 of those in each leg, and I was starting to feel good at the time. Yeah. And I felt like I was in a fucking movie. I started seeing aliens and shit over here, and I'm like, whoa, like what is this? And then I started coming to, and I realized it was the night vision goggles and the medics on board. So I'm like, all right, they're not aliens. We're good. We're alive. And, you know, no disrespect to you. All right. This is a little punch in the nuts to the Army, but they were Army pilots. And the Army medics, as I'm getting on, go, hey, soldier, we're going home. And I just remember going, I'm not a fucking soldier. I'm a Marine. And
are these PJs? Is that what they call them?
I don't really know who they were, to be honest with you. The PJs, all those guys are all working out of a base in Germany and Bargum, which was a small airport there with a hospital. But they're all freaking heroes, man. Those guys they're dealing with us every single day. So you want to talk about trauma, seeing young guys like myself come back battered and they're taking care of us and trying to keep a little hope and faith that we're going to make it back enough for them to take care of us.
So were these pilots like, fuck you, we're going to leave you here?
I hope not, because I'm here today. So, you know, I'll tell you a little bit something funny after that in a little bit. But so now, you know, these guys get me on the helicopter and they get me to a local hospital and they do, you know, all the surgeries of cleaning me up and stopping the bleeding and whatever else. And then they send me to Germany, which is where they stabilize everything and get ready to send me back.
How long of a transport is that from Afghanistan to Germany?
I'll be honest with you, I can't remember because that was the only time that I was out. You know, I was awake throughout the whole injury, you know, the IED going off. And when I get on the helicopter and when I saw the alien light stuff and I made that little smart ass comment, then I passed out and I don't remember much until I woke up in Germany, so I couldn't even tell you how the exact time frame.
Yeah.
But I know those guys, got blood transfusions going and doing what they had to do. So now I'm in Germany, and I remember the debrief of like, hey, if you get hurt, you're going to launch stool. But at the time, I was on so many medications that the nurse comes in, and I was like, she's like, do you know where you're at? I was like, I don't like Lantu, something. I'm like looking around to see the pillow, but the damn shit's like in a different language.
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
didn't know what it said. I was like, I know I'm in Germany. She's
Right.
like, okay, good. You're in Germany. Yes, you're
Yeah.
in Germany. You're going to be going home soon. Thank you very much for your service, and you're going to be all right. And I'm just sitting there going like, man, I'm glad. I don't care what happened. I wasn't even angry. I was just like, I'm going home. Thank God. And
At that point, did you realize that you lost your legs?
I didn't really know what happened, man. To be honest with you, I think that I didn't know what happened to me until I got to the United States. They put us all in these like stretchers on the plane, and they kind of ship us back home, and they assign a medic to all of us, and we get to Walter Reed Army Medical Center. That's where they send us out to do rehab. And I got to tell you, one of the scariest parts of this whole thing was that day, because I felt like I was in a freaking movie. Felt like I was in a movie, when they bring the caskets home with the flags draped over them. Yeah. I felt like I was in a freaking casket, but awake and able to see everything, and it was scary. But none of us were dead. We were all alive, just, pretty battered up. And I remember looking over to the right and seeing another guy that I served with who was a sniper, and he was missing a leg above the knee. And I didn't know he was an amputee at the time yet. I just saw him laying with the blanket on him. And, I felt safe. I kind of looked at him, and we both gave each other thumbs up, and we just got there, and they get us off the plane just like they would have with the caskets. I just remember all these Marines coming on board, and they're like, hey, Marine, you're home. And I was like, oh, thank God this guy's calling me the right thing. He goes, we're going home. And so now they have like 3 guys on each side. And like 1, 2, 3, lift. And we get lifted on the stretcher. 1, 2, 3, walk. And they're marching. I'm like, man, this shit feels like, like a movie. I still didn't believe any of this stuff was real. It's probably because of the medication and a little bit of the shock and, everything going on. So now they're kind of rolling us into a bus. The bus gets us to Walter Reed, and I'll never forget this day. I had shaved my head, as I told you before, because we're over there. We still have to, keep forms to hygiene, So I had to shave my head and shave my face, and you still had to keep yourself in uniform. And I remember I was passing by, and I guess I hadn't shaved for a couple days, and I had my head was shaven, and my face was so dark and stuff from being so hot, and I was dirty with all this debris and stuff on me, that now they're rolling me down the hallway, and my mom's coming this way, but I had on a BVM, and my mom's going this way, and I'm just like trying to talk to her, but I couldn't talk, and I just saw my mom just kind of like disappear into this way, and I'm like,
she didn't realize that was you.
She didn't realize it was me. I'd lost so much weight, from not eating properly and everything else over there. That eventually I Miss Ferreira, and she's like, and she grabbed my hand. She's like, "Ay, mijito," like speaking in Spanish, and she's like, "Mijo, está todo bien," like everything's okay, and now I see my parents and everybody's there, and I felt good. I felt comfortable, and I don't know, man. I just got this feeling that something was watching over me. Something was watching over me because I saw so many other guys get killed with something so much less, a 10-pound bomb, and I stepped on a 30-pound bomb supposedly from what I was told, and I'm alive. How does that happen?
Wow.
Yeah. How does that happen?
Yeah.
And I carried a few things in my pocket, in my breast pocket. I had a cross and rosary beads that my father gave me, and this little prayer card and a dog tag and whatever else. And they found all the stuff on me and they put it in a little baggie, and it was full of blood. And I was like, oh shit, I got all my stuff back. Thank God. And then rehab starts coming along, and it's like, all right, now I have other veterans in this on this floor, this ward, where we would kind of help each other out. There was a peer mentor thing. Now, I don't know if you watch Fox News at all, but there's a guy named Joey Jones there who is a double amputee Marine. And he and I are actually from the same town in Atlanta, Georgia. And I remember waking up to him next to, my bed and talking to my dad and basically just telling him, hey, man, I'm a Marine too, and everything's going to be okay. You're going to get through this, and everything's going to be all right. And, guys like Johnny are the ones who got me going. They got me into that positive mindset that, hey, this guy just rolled up in a wheelchair. All right, kind of sucks that he's in a wheelchair, but he's alive and we'll figure it out. I don't know. That's kind of the feeling that I got from that. And then I would meet guys like Josh Wegge, who's another Marine, double amputee, who comes into my room and, to kind of make this a little bit more funnier. So we're not talking about some depressing shit all the whole show. But he comes in the show, into the room, and he's wearing jeans and GBX boots. I don't know if you remember what those are, but they're these big, heavy boots that people used to wear back in the day.
Right.
And he looks kind of like Ed Sheeran a little bit. He's got this tight shirt on. And he's like, hey, man, you're going to be playing softball. And I just lose it. I'm like, don't you see my fucking legs are gone, asshole? Like, how am I going to play softball? And he's like, oh, I forgot to show you. And he pulls his pant leg up. He does double amputee. And I was like, holy shit, you just walked in here. And I just had like a light go off. And I'm like, I have a million questions for you, buddy. Yeah. I was like, am I going to walk? Am I going to meet girl? Am I going to drive? Am I going to go to the booze? I just wanted to know if I was going to live a normal life, because that's what this kid made it seem like,
sure.
And I don't know, my hopes just went that day that I had somebody else gone through what I'd gone through and is already a few steps in front of me. And the time started going by and I started doing things to get out of rehabilitation. They were like, hey man, you're going to have to start walking, you have to start running before we can release you back out into the Marine Corps if you want to stay in the Marines or get out. And at that time, I was like, I don't care. I'm alive right now.
What do you mean stay in the Marine Corps? How does that happen if you just lost both your legs?
So if you stay, if you decide to stay in and you get to a point where you're back to walking and doing everything you were doing before, then they would find a job, maybe admin or something like that to do if you decided to stay in the Marine Corps.
But you're not going back out into the
You didn't know. I mean, there are guys in combat, believe it or not, who are missing legs that are back into combat, combat zones. So, I would like to say it's very relatively close to what a law enforcement officer goes through. A lot of guys, they don't know what else to do. Mm-hmm. This is all we've ever wanted to do is serve people and protect people and play this role, right? So that was a little far away at the time, though. But in the beginning, it was like, all right, what are we going to do? We're going to play adaptive sports. We're going to start doing the same thing people like Joey Jones and Josh Wegge did, get into the peer mentor thing where you can coach guys through it, because there were still guys coming in every single day from Afghanistan were injured. And eventually start playing adaptive sports. So I started playing wheelchair basketball. Then I got into wheelchair volleyball. Then I got into running. And I was like, wait a minute. I said, I want to do stuff like I used to do. I want to play stand-up basketball. I want to play stand-up volleyball. I want to run, like I saw that guy on the Oscar Pistorius. Like, I want to run, And I just remember all my therapists and my occupational therapists like, you're going to get there. Just be patient, be patient. I didn't want to be patient. I just wanted to get up and go, And so the time passed by and I did. I started running and I did I think the first run I did was the Navy 5-miler. Then I did the Army 10-miler. Then I did a Marine Corps 10K. Then I signed up for a half marathon. And I'm doing more than I was without legs than I was without. I hated running when I had legs. Now I'm running more.
How long did it take you to, I guess, adjust to now using prosthetics? Is it something that you just pick up quickly, or is it?
It takes a while because of like the adaptation. It doesn't feel natural. In the beginning, it doesn't feel natural. Now I wake up and it's kind of a part of me. And although there's still days where I have to, work around a little bit of pain here and there. Like I think that in the beginning, you're just like, what is this? It's like wearing jewelry if you never worn jewelry. Or if you don't like wearing a watch and you put on a watch, you feel like something's there, but you don't know how to.
What does it actually feel like to walk on prosthetics?
So the best way to describe it in the beginning, it's like the North Shore, right? The North Shore is rocky.
Yep.
Okay. Pretend you're walking on the North Shore on those rocks barefooted and you're off balance and it hurts a little bit every time you take a step and you might step on a piece of glass or something. That's what it feels like. It sucks.
Okay.
It hurts.
You're
just like, wow, this doesn't feel good. Because now imagine, you have your feet and they get taken out and now it's almost like knocking on the door with your knuckles. Those knuckles are not meant for that.
Yeah.
This is meant to support the ground and everything else.
Right.
This is not supposed to do that. So now it didn't really feel natural, walking, but with a little bit of time, you desensitize like the skin and the bone and everything else. So then it gets a little bit more comfortable and you get a little used to it. And, the legs are sweating because they're trapped inside of this like rubber or polyethylene material thing that's inside the prosthetic. So that never goes away even till now. It's been about 11, 12 years that I've been amputee. You still sweat. You still, unfortunately kind of get uncomfortable in it. It's almost like walking with socks and shoes in the rain. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But again, you get used to it. So.
And how long was the time period between the first day you put on your prosthetics to the actual time you start walking, running?
Walking, I think it was like 2-3 months, and people didn't believe that. They're like, I can't believe this guy's walking already. And then by 9 months to a year, I had ran that half marathon. So between the 9 months to the year, I ran all those races. So I would say around like a year time frame is when I really got comfortable and they could trust me.
That's an extremely quick turnaround.
It was quick. I was actually surprised, and I think they said it's because I'm younger.
Right.
So when you're younger and a little bit healthier, then you can kind of get back up and going.
I think you also have the heart for it.
I think it takes a guy to really see the positive side of things, to be able to get up and go, because there are some days you just don't want to, you know?
Did you see guys in the same situation you were that had basically given up?
Yeah. And it was sad, it was sad because it was to the point where it's like, you want the people to go or to feel like, hey, if I could do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
But some guys just didn't want to do it. And I'm like, why not, buddy? He's like, I don't need to, man. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm happy. I'll get there. And I was like, but you could do this, man. And the mentality that I have now wasn't there yet. Because now I think about a lot of things when I wake up in the morning. It's not just about me anymore.
Yeah.
I guess we can get into it a little later, but I do coach, amputee kids in softball, and I've gotten an opportunity, an amazing opportunity to work with, people, not just veterans, but other people with disabilities. And not everybody has the gift like myself to walk. Some people are going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of their lives. And if those people had an opportunity or a chance at all to get up and walk again, I think they would give a kidney to get up and walk. So I'm like, what disservice am I doing to myself and other people by not having that, light in the morning to wake up and go?
Yeah.
So for me, it was about trying to find a positive mindset that, hey, listen, I understand you lost your legs. I understand that you're not going to be able to do things the way you used to. And it took time. Don't get me wrong. I did have days where I was just like, man, this sucks. Like, why me? And that's just, I would like to think that's typical behavior.
I think so. 100%.
I don't like to use the word weak anymore. There are a lot of people that have given me perspective. So there's certain words like, bound, like wheelchair bound. I don't like that. People are not wheelchair bound. You know what I'm saying? It's just an extension of the person, but also weak-minded. We talk about in the military, guys who say they have PTSD are weak. I'm like, what's so weak about somebody going through a traumatic injury and then having to readapt to yesterday?
Right.
Yesterday's in the past. What happened to you yesterday is going to affect your future, unfortunately. And it's the way that you adapt to it. So for me, like, I don't like hearing people say, well, you're better than that person. And it almost feels like you're walking on eggshells trying to say, hey, somebody with the same amputation is not doing what you're doing. Why not? And it's not because of their mindset. It's just everybody faces their different, the different demons. For me,
Sure.
I felt like I was too young, and I also have like a different faith background. I feel like God did it for a reason. And when I hear about why me, it's like, why not you? I just heard somebody talk about it on social media, and I actually made a video to this like voiceover. Why not me? And it's like, I feel like God gave me this because He knew I can handle it, type of thing.
Right.
And some people, unfortunately, are not on that same faith basis. So I feel like maybe they don't depend on that faith, and I might have said this to you earlier, but I feel like sometimes people in our line of work that don't believe in God or don't believe in faith is because they've never had to.
Yeah.
So to me, when I'm looking up at the sky at 19, 20 years old, going, well, this is it. And I go, well, God, if you let me walk again, if you let me live, I promise I'll do whatever you want me to. And then I have, in front of you guys right now, 10 years of law enforcement, military, steam fitter, parent experience that I would have never had I not had that opportunity. Then, I would be like, okay, great. I lived for 10 years. I don't have shit to show for it.
Right.
But if you see what I've been able to do in 10 years, I think that I have, the least of my worries is to say, hey, I believe in something that's not physically here.
That's a pretty powerful statement that you just made too, when you said that people who don't have the faith is because they never had to have it. Now, that's powerful.
I wouldn't say either that they don't have to have it. I just don't think they realize they had to have it.
Right.
As a law enforcement officer every day, I think that people go out every single day from their homes and they might not be coming home.
Right.
Yeah.
They might not be coming home. And if you think that for a minute that it is not written, in stone already, the situation that you're going to go through, then I don't know what is. Things happen every single day as in the line of work that we do. We go to car accidents, we go to shootings, we go to rapes, we go to burglaries, we go to robberies, we go to every single thing. And I'm like, you're going to somebody's worst day in your life. You don't think you're going to have one of those days?
Yeah.
So for me, it's very difficult to not believe in God in the line of work that we do. When those people call you and you're there, you're like their saving grace almost.
Yeah, their guardian angel.
You're like their guardian angel. I have a police officer that I'm, I would like to say good friends with that's on your job, in the NYPD.
You can give him a shout out.
He's a captain. Yeah, Lito Gill. Lito Gill.
He's a great guy. I know him.
So Lito Gill's the
Great
captain
dude.
now. And
Is there anybody you don't know?
I know a lot of people.
well, that's a good thing of being in his position in the city. You're like in the hub.
Joe knows him too.
He actually just got promoted. He's a DI now.
He's a captain. He's a captain now. And I went to a call to his house. I didn't know who he was. Of course, I'm just responding to a call.
Yeah.
And his daughter was having seizures at the time. And I showed up and I was scared because, at the time I had a pretty young daughter, and I could only imagine what he was going through. So I just felt like I needed to stay calm for him and his family. And as you know, when you're having seizures, there's nothing you can do about it except reposition the person, make sure they're not hitting their head on something.
And you know this because all of Suffolk County Police Department are EMTs.
We're all
correct?
EMTs, correct? We're all EMTs, and so now I kind of comfort her. I put her head on my lap, and I'm talking to him, and I'm just like, "Hey, Dad, just stay calm. It's gonna be okay. She's gonna snap out of this." And then I bring in oxygen, and I just provide some oxygen just to make sure she's continuing to breathe. And she comes to, and then Mom and Dad are there as soon as she wakes up. And I didn't know who he was. It was my last call in the morning too. I think it was on midnight. I can't remember the exact time. I don't want to make something up, but I'm leaving there and I'm writing the report. And a couple years pass by, and we talk about social media being a negative thing all the time. And I open up my Instagram and I have an inbox message from him. He's like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, And then he sends me this video of this beautiful girl, this beautiful young girl, says, "Thank you for saving my life." And it was his daughter, and she's growing up. This is like 4 years later.
Wow.
And he's like, "Hey man, I know you don't think you did much, but you kept me calm and my family calm, and we're very appreciative. And my daughter thanks you for that." And he's like, "Hey, I'm a lieutenant." At the time he was a lieutenant. He's like, "I'm a lieutenant in the 7.5 or wherever he was at the time." And now he's a captain and he's moving on up. And he's a deputy inspector. And he just got promoted. And everybody's like, "Dude, the guy's a solid guy all around." And I look at his social media and it's faith, exercise, mental health, just living this positive life. And everybody that I've met loves this guy to death.
Yeah, really nice dude.
And it's very nice to see that somebody who I had no idea who he was. I responded to his call, and years later he's like, thankful for something that I don't even feel like I don't even feel like I did anything. I was just there.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Man, it's not what you did. It's just like how calm you were, and you just brought like this calm presence about you." Now, and I don't know what I think. I don't know what you think. Maybe you can talk about it. I don't know what you're thinking when you respond to these calls.
I think you learned like anything else. You kind of detach. You lose that emotion. You have to. But you stay within. Like, I got to comfort this. I got to do this. It's kind of robotic, and that's the problem that we always talk about. Is when you detach when you're there, you become robotic. You do, you're compassion. You're showing compassion, but then when you leave there, and you go, "Oh shit," you never reconnect to it.
It's just like the military. I mean, you know this. It's like you just said earlier, when you're walking in Afghanistan and you got rounds going over your head and you're like, "All right, well, it's time to get to work." And you're setting up this fucking gigantic machine gun. It's the same thing in law enforcement, right? You show up to the scene and you're like, "All right, it's time to do work." And you just go right into what your training has taught you, but also what your own personal character has taught you on how to cope with a situation or how to, deal with someone whose daughter is in, a medical emergency. When you go through the academy, you may not be trained exactly how to deal with that. Now, again, with you guys being EMTs, you're further trained than most other law enforcement agencies. But I think naturally, most of us who are in law enforcement or EMS, fire, whatever, you're a certain type of person already going in. So you know how to handle certain situations, just being that calming presence for the most part. And even if you're feeling like, "Oh shit, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing" inside, as long as you don't, show that to the outside and show these parents that you're scared themselves or yourself, you're gonna calm them down.
Yeah.
And I want to take us back a little bit because we jumped ahead just slightly. You hold a title that nobody else in the country will ever be able to take away from you. Tell us what that title actually is.
So, transition out of the military, like you said, I got out in 2012 and I didn't really know what I was going to be able to do. I was like, all right, so now what? I'm medically retired, okay, fine. I play some sports and stuff here and there, but I was like, where's my purpose? Where's my niche? Where's the way that I connect with society again, that I'm still capable or I'm still useful? And, I was in Florida living at the time. I was going to school and still traveling with this softball team, the USA Patriots. And, I was like, I got to find something else that I love to do. And it's always been military, law enforcement, something along those lines. Wearing a uniform, being bigger than yourself. We all hear that, cliche statement, right? But it was true. Like, I was playing these softball tournaments and only playing against active military, law enforcement, first responder teams. And they're like, "Dude, why don't you try to be a cop?" And I was like, how am I going to be a cop? I'm going to be a police officer. I've never heard of a double amputee police officer before. I've Googled it. I've looked it up. I found a couple that were hurt on the line of duty. I found a couple that were single below the knees, but never anybody that, was a double amputee and came in through the process of the academy and, the whole 9 yards. So at the time I moved to New York, I had my daughter and I was living here, and I was a 638 steam fitter that I got in through helmets to hard hats. And I was going to the city, working every single day and running into cops. I'm like, man, this is cool, dude. I want to be a cop, like that's awesome. These guys are walking around, these guys and girls are walking around the street helping people, and whatever. I was like, that's definitely something I could do. I just don't know how they're going to let me do it. So I took the test, I took the written exam for Suffolk County Police. And I don't know anything about, Suffolk, New York, state troopers, I'm from Georgia, so to me, It's all the same thing. You're a police officer, and I took the test and surprisingly, as people laughed, they're like, did you do it in crayons, the Marine? And I'm like, no, I actually scored pretty well on it.
You must have scored very well.
I scored well on it. And being bilingual and speaking Spanish, I was on a Spanish speaking list. And, they called me up, and at this time they don't know anything about, my situation. They're like, all right, he's just another applicant.
Yeah.
And of course, now I have to go to the physical, and I'll never forget the doctor. She's like, hey, listen, I need you to step on the scale, take off your shoes. And I'm like, listen, I was like, can I keep my shoes on? She's like, why? She's like, you have to take your shoes off. I'm like, I don't have a shoehorn. She's like, what do you need a shoehorn? I was like, well, because I have prosthetics and, I can't take the shoe off. These are really tight. You usually could put sneakers on easily, but, the fact that they're so tight around, sometimes you need a shoehorn to put it on. And she's like, yeah, what? I was like, prosthetics. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, a knee brace? I was like, no, I'm missing my legs. And she's like, oh. She's like, hold on a second. So she goes get the doctor. The doctor comes back out. She goes, do you have a letter from, the doctor or something saying you were able to do this, the physical? And I was like, yeah, I can get a letter from them. I said, I didn't know I needed a letter, but yeah, I'll get one. And of course, at this point, I'm like, oh yeah, they're definitely going to shut me down,
Yeah.
And she has me in the back, and I'm kneeling, and I'm doing all the sort of stuff that they do there. And she's like, can you get down? I'm like, yeah, I wrestled through high school and this and that, so I can still get down. I can still, run and jump. She's like, okay. She's marking things off, and the VA sends them a letter saying I'm, physically fit to do the job. And I go to the next process, which is like the medical. So they go through the whole thing of my rap sheet with my medical stuff. Like, all right, he's got this, he's got that, because they have to, document everything. They're like, okay. And then surprisingly, I got another letter, for the physical, and I show up in shorts. And then they're like, all right, we've never seen this before. We got RoboCop in the house, So now I take the exam and I take the test and I do the push-ups and the sit-ups and everything's going well. And I had just gotten a new set of prosthetics, and I was testing them out. And I kind of, pushed the envelope because I was like, oh man, I'm definitely gonna do great. And da-da-da. And I had a tweak in my leg when I was running the first run, and I failed the run. I finished it, but I failed the run. And you could tell that people were bummed out, like we wanted to see this guy do good. Yeah. And you get 2 weeks to come back and redo it again. Okay. And I'm like, I'm not going back. I told, really? I told my friends at the time, I'm like, I'm not going back. This is a sign for me. I'm like, God did this, God that. I'm like, God did this. He's like, you know what? It's not for you, buddy. Yeah. And then I go home and I talk to my mom and I talk to my dad and I talk to my brothers. And, I just remember this kid, Landis. If you have an opportunity to look this kid up, just watch me. His name's Landis. Landis Sims. He's born without both hands, both legs. He was just recently here in New York. I don't know. You guys have hosted him a lot of times. And at one of our kids' camps, he goes, hey, Mr. Matt, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I was like, Landis, I'm already grown up already, buddy. And I was like, but if I could do anything, I'd be a cop. And he's like, well, why don't you do it? And so those words kind of popped up in my head as I'm thinking about throwing this letter away of coming back in 2 weeks. And I was like, no, I'm going to go to the track and I'll start running. So I go back to the track and I start running, and I remembered, I was like, oh shit, that's right. You fucking failed the ASVAB the first time too. I failed the ASVAB to get in the military. I scored like a 30 or something because I was just like, I'm going to wing it. Yeah. I didn't study nothing. So I had to study and take the test to get in the military. Now I was kind of met with this.
Typical for Marines.
Typical for Marines. Yeah. If I was in the Army, I would have scored like a 32. But now I'm kind of met with this like split road. Do I do it or do I don't do it? And I felt like, all right, here's another obstacle that I need to, hurdle over. And so I show up to take the test and push ups, sit ups, boom, run. And I'm getting to the time and I'm on my last lap. And I think I had to do it in like 12:38 or something like that for my age group. And I'm like at 11 something, and I'm on my last lap. I'm like, holy shit, I'm gonna do it. And I'm like talking to myself in my head. I'm not very good at that. I can't talk to myself in my head. I'll talk out loud, but I won't talk in my head. And I hear myself in my head going like, dude, run faster. You got this. And I turned up the thrusters, wow, I was like, let's go. And I got this guy next to me. He's like, yes, let's go. And he's running with me. He only has one lap to do too. So now I'm getting to the end and I hear the time in the like the distance, the near distance. Yeah. And they're like 11:45. 11:52, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm gonna make it. And I'm like running, and I run through the line, and I'm like, like I could feel the veins popping out because of the excitement. And you see everybody over there going like, yeah, like, because they were like kind of rooting for me, And I was like, man, this is cool shit. I just did it, So even if I fail anything else, I just passed something that I wasn't really even able to do 2 weeks ago.
And I just want to paint a picture. Most people in the United States who have two normal functioning legs cannot run a mile and a half in 12:38. Not even fucking close.
Yeah.
And you just did it after surviving this major incident.
It's tough, man. I'll tell you
Yeah,
what.
I
People
mean,
that are in
that's-
shape, they'll tell you, no big deal. 12:38's like you're moving.
that's-
You don't have
moving.
time.
Yeah, it's
You don't
no
have
joke.
time. You don't
12:38
have
is
time. I'm
not
not
easy.
I'm nowhere near the fastest runner. You know, like I mean, you got guys doing the mile and a half in like 9 minutes. You're
Yeah,
like,
well, those
holy
guys
shit.
are like professional.
Those guys are like
sprinters.
athletes, which you give those guys even more credit.
9:36 in the academy.
Did you
for
really?
me.
Yeah?
Could never do it. I couldn't
Oh,
even walk
man.
five miles. In
I
that,
barely
but-
passed. I just made it.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it was
I was
tough.
a runner. I was a runner.
No,
It was tough.
I'm built like a fucking hamburger. So
I like it. I like that. I'll be the inside. You can be the buns, you know. Oh man, but yeah. So I get through that, and now the only thing I have left is the polygraph. And you know, again, you talk about moments in your life where I feel like just like your guardian angel or somebody pops up. I walk in a suit to do my polygraph, and I'm nervous as hell because I've never done anything wrong. I grew up in Georgia, and I went from athletics to the Marine Corps, so I've never had time to like smoke weed and do drugs and get in trouble. So I was like, I got nothing to lose here. I'm not gonna fail this. If I pass everything else, I'm good here. And I'm just like, my heart's pounding because I'm just like, this is like a movie. You know,
Yeah,
like, you
it's
got this-
scary no matter
yeah,
what.
You got this thing around your waist and a thing on your finger, and you feel like you did something wrong. And I'm like, man, what did I do wrong?
yeah.
But as soon as I'm walking in, I hold the door open for this gentleman, and he's on the internet. You can look him up. Dennis Delaney
Okay.
is his name. Older gentleman, and he's coming into the Yaphank location, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I had a Marine Corps pin, or I might have had the Purple Heart pin actually. I had the Purple Heart pin on my suit. I wear it proud. And he's like, "What branch are you in, son?" And I go, "The Marine Corps, sir." He's like, "Semper Fi," just like that. The nicest guy that was Semper Fi. And I'll never forget, peppered hair, white and black, nice looking young 60-something-year-old, 70-something-year-old Marine, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, tell me a little bit about the Marine Corps." And I'm just sitting there holding the door open. He's like, "God, come on in." And I'm like, "Oh, sir, I'm just waiting." He's like, "It's okay, don't worry. They'll be okay if you're talking to me. I'm an old jarhead, retired Suffolk police officer." And I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be good. I'm gonna hear some good stories."
Yeah.
And humble guy doesn't tell me anything about his service, doesn't tell me anything about who he is. And the guy comes out to do a polygraph. He's like, "You take care of my Marine, all right?" And I just look at him. I'm like, "Oh, thank you, sir." Thinking like, "Oh, who's this gentleman?" Like he's got to know some people around here. And they're like, "All right, Dennis, we'll see you later." So I go and I take my polygraph. I leave. He's standing again right there when I leave. And I'm like, "All right, sir, it's very nice to meet you." He was like, "Did you pass?" I was like, "I don't know. I think so." I said, "I didn't lie about anything." And they go, "Yeah, we'll contact you. If you need anything." So now I'm like, who the fuck is this Dennis Delaney guy? I gotta Google him because I just felt like this presence about him
Yeah.
that just made me feel comfort.
Yeah.
When I walked in there, I was like shaking, I was nervous, and I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, this guy just made me feel calm and collective. And he's like, it kind of almost like when my Marines tell me, "Remember who the fuck you are."
Mhm.
That's kind of what he made me feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now I look him up. This guy's a freaking Purple Heart recipient in the police department and like all this other stuff, like, Medal of Honor recipient, I think. I'm sorry, Medal of Honor, Vietnam veteran, wounded in combat. Like, I'm like,
Holy shit.
I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
This guy's
No joke.
incredible. He's the real deal.
Yeah.
And now I would come to see him in other events and stuff, later on down the road. But, I'm like, "Mr. Delaney." He's like, "Dennis." I was like, "Dennis." I was like, "I can't call you Dennis. This is not," I feel like I'm standing in front of like a guardian angel here,
Right.
And now, I get the call. I'm a steam fitter, like I said. Get the call, and I'm in the car with my boss, and I Suffolk County, and I answer the phone. They're like, "Matias." I was like, "Yes, sir." He goes, he's like, "You still want to be a cop?" And I felt like I was back in the Marine Corps. You remember me earlier
Yeah,
from Staff
yeah.
Sergeant Beck? I'm like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "You start Monday morning." I was like, it's like it's Friday afternoon. Like, what happened to 2 weeks notice? My boss is like, go. He's like, "You're good. So now I go home again, shave my head, because I know the drill here. I get the head shaved off, and I got everything. I'm looking at the list that they told me 2 black pens. I'm like, I got to get 2 black identical pens. I got to get my driver's license. I got to get this. I got to get that. I got to make sure all the stickers off my truck. I'm doing the whole thing, and I'm just like so excited. I'm like, can Monday come? Let's go.
Yeah.
And same thing again. I come in at dusk, like, dark in a parking lot. People are directing you where to go. And I'm like, "Oh shit, here we go again."
They start yelling
Here
at
we
you.
go
Yeah,
again.
you're used to it, though.
And
I mean, you know
at
what
this
to
point, I'm
expect.
like kind of giddy. I'm
Yeah.
laughing. I'm like, "This is awesome. Like, this is cool."
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into too many details about like the nitty because you guys have both been through there, done that. It's just a fun ride. But there's this gentleman there, and I walk in. This chaos is screaming, just like the Marine Corps. And I'm just kind of happy about it because I'm like, I know this place.
Yeah.
This is a common place. I'm aware.
It's like being home.
It's like being home.
Yeah.
I'm standing at attention, just like everybody else. hours pass by. We do our swearing in, and we're standing at attention. They're looking at our suits and our this and our that, and my body starts to sway a little bit. And you know where I'm going with this. My body's swaying, and it's not even the prosthetics. It's just like you've been standing at attention forever.
Yep.
And if anybody knows, you know what I'm talking about.
As soon as you see the movement,
they're
on you.
They're on you like a pit bull. Like I got
and
you.
they tell you don't lock your knees.
All I hear is bah, 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 just yelling in my ear, stop knocking out your knee. I'm like, okay, yes, sir.
Yep.
So now, like another 30 minutes pass by, and I feel it again. And all of a sudden, he's just back there, just screaming. He's like, get on your face. I'm like, thank God. I'm like, I'll do push-ups all day long. That's fine, but I can't stand anymore. So I'm doing push-ups. He's like, get up. Get up. All this chaos is going on. And all of a sudden, I'm at position of attention, and you just hear. And again, I have his permission to tell the story because it's pretty funny. He goes, what part of bend your knees and wiggle your toes do you not understand? And I go, sir, this recruit doesn't have any toes, sir. And he's like, what did you say? Whatever. And all of a sudden, I just feel like something just pull him from a distance. You see him, then you don't. You see him, then you don't.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, his just body just disappears. And I'm just sitting there like, sweat just pouring out my face. I'm just sitting there. I don't want to move. Like, it's just dripping. And I'm just like blinking my eyes, hoping it just kind of falls off. And then I just see him reappear. And I'm sorry. He's like, I did not know.
Which you don't hear someone, a DI in the police academy say, I'm sorry.
He's like, I'm sorry. I wasn't here when they gave us a debrief about you. He's like, carry on. And I was like, yes, sir. Like everybody else is kind of like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
And so now he kind of goes away and time passes by and I'm going through the police academy and everybody's amazing there. My staff's freaking incredible. They're like, very motivating. The program is intense. Running, push-ups, sit-ups, academics, EVOC, EMT, as you said. Everything is like, for me, the physical part wasn't difficult. It was like I needed to buckle down and study because that's my weakness is studying. Right. I'm just like, damn, penal laws and VTL and all sort of stuff. And I got through it. Mostly the girls there, they were always hosting like these Panera study groups. And I'm like, can I come? I'm like the only idiot at Panera, having like soup. They're like, oh, we don't actually eat here. We just kind of study. I'm like, I have the soup, the sandwich, the drink, and I'm like, all right, where are we getting beers, But I'm getting through this whole process. And now, like it's incredible. Like we're getting to the end of this thing. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass the academy. And again, the staff was phenomenal there. And they're like, hey, man, we're very proud of you. I got to tell you, when you're going through the physical, I remember you there and we were rooting on for you. Thank you for your service, And now I'm just like super excited to get out in the streets and, start going out there. So now I graduate and they sent the two Marines there to read this proclamation. Really nice, the really nice thing, which it was a little bittersweet because they also I feel like it took a little way away from my classmates, which sucked, but they were super supportive. They're like, dude.
I'm sure nobody cared.
They were like, dude, this is cool. Like they elected me class president, so I had to give a speech. And of course, like I'm up there like an idiot, like, well, these last 39 weeks, they're like, all right, guy, get it over with. Let's go get off stage, And I go out to work, in the first precinct. And again, the community was just so supportive and amazing. I even went into a call one time where I was in a bad neighborhood and the guy goes, hey, you're the guy with the legs. And I'm like, I'm the guy without the legs. What's up, man? And they're all laughing. They're like, hey, man, respect it. I was just like, cool. This is cool, man. I can't believe I'm working right now.
Yeah.
And you're just helping people. Again, like I said, and you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm very passionate about it. I love talking about it because it just reminds me where the hell I am and the things I've been through to get here. But I've also been just met with so many different opportunities to work with other people like myself, with other amputees within the job, and then amputees within the community. I had a call, like, I think a month in off FTO, where I respond to a call. And again, he's, the guy, Mikey Martinez, he told me, he's a dude, share the story. I think it's phenomenal. Talk about presence and, God being in your life. I show up to a scene of a car accident. The guy's legs amputated. And I get there and his leg's over there. His body's over here. And the people that I'm there with, we're putting on tourniquets. We get the freaking helicopter down. Helicopter comes down, takes him to Stony Brook, saves his other leg. He's alive to tell the story today. He's got beautiful daughters, a beautiful wife. They're super, supportive. They're always sending me messages on Facebook. Dude, you can't imagine what Mike felt like to have you there. He read your article after, the fact, and when he was here, and that you were going to come meet him and stuff like that. So like people were just like, dude, you're making a difference, and that felt really good to know that I wasn't just doing it to go to work. It was like, you're actually making a difference. And I'm like, well, there's about another 50,000 people doing this shit every single day. So I'm nobody special here. Like I have a unique story.
I beg to differ.
But you know what? Listen, I have a unique story, but if you sat down and did this shit with every single cop, I would say that most of us are going through life.
No, I agree.
With different stories,
But I mean, and I know that, you don't like to receive the accolades, but let's be fucking honest here, right?
Yeah,
because that's what we're in the mustard room.
I appreciate it.
Dude, you had your fucking legs blown off. like, what is it, like 1% of the population in America actually become police officers. And they, 99.9% of those police officers have all four, parts of their bodies. You lost 2 of them and you became a police officer. So just so everyone's aware, Matias is the first ever double amputee police officer in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, you hold, is it a I don't know if you call it a record, but I mean,
I would say
you're the first ever.
It's the first that we're aware of, that came in through the whole process. And now to give a little shout out, now there's 2 other double amputee police officers, and they happen to be on the same softball team that I play on, the USA
awesome.
Patriots.
That's cool.
The first guy was Zach Brazeno. He's out in Fort Worth, Texas, and I'm sure you guys get viewers and from all over the country. So I hope that he gets a little high five over there.
Shout out to him.
Yeah,
Zach
seriously.
Brazeno, and then the other guy is Brent. And I always mess up his last name, not a jockey, I call him, but he's in upstate New York, and he just got into the Department of Sheriff's Department, as a double amputee. I'm
like,
what
dude, department he's working with?
I don't know what department he just transferred because he was working for a municipality at first, and now he just got into the sheriff's.
All right, maybe we'll try to get him on.
Yeah, man, he's upstate. He's not too far away, and he just came down this weekend. We played the softball tournament out here with the USA Patriots, and he's just another example. He's like, dude, you have no idea. You set up the example, and I'm like, man, I hope these guys start popping up because in my Instagram. Now I get requests from all over the country. Hey, dude, I was born without an arm. And that was a big one. People were like, can you be a cop without an arm? And I was like, I don't know, man. I've never met anybody. And sure enough, some guy from like Missouri or something hits me up. He's on the SWAT team and everything.
Wow.
Missing an arm below the elbow. He still operates a handgun. He shoots with his left, but he still needs it because they shoot, I think, ARs.
Yeah.
So the guy's on the job. And there's other guys I've met in Miami, California. There's a guy that's going to freaking fly commercial airlines. I think American Airlines. I don't want to jinx them, but the dude's a pilot now, so it's like phenomenal to see that, it's kind of creating a snowball effect where people are like, hey man, I still want to continue to give back. And while keeping us safe, of course, I think the department did a good job. I got to give them a shout out. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you don't have to, kiss their ass, but the department really could have just said no. And I'm sure I would have had to find ways around it, but they never did. Yeah. They were very accommodating. They looked into it. They said, hey man, we're going to look into this. Is the VA still paying for your prosthetic care? Do you still have, I'm like, yes, and yes. And they've been great. And not to mention, as we have the fraternal organizations. We have the Police Veterans Association. And they did a big help to me to go, hey, we have this, we have that. If you need to utilize these services, I'm like, man, thank you very much. I don't need anything. And knock on some wood, but been a cop for 6 years now, and I haven't had to leave work because I had a complication with a prosthetic or anything. I've been on plenty of running events, foot chases or roll arounds and whatever, and I haven't had anything happen. So thank God I've stayed safe while doing it. But if you could do the job and you could prove you could do the job and you're passionate about doing the job, hey, let's give them a shot, and they did.
With that, because we are getting towards the time where we have to end this. What is your positivity? What is somebody who's listening to this, laying on the couch, whether they're an amputee or not? Because your positivity is infectious.
Yeah, it really is.
What can you say to them to say, hey, get up, get to it?
I think it's just attitude. I think it's just having a good attitude. I think that we take things for granted every single day.
Yeah.
I've been put in the position where I can physically see, that adversity in front of people. Like I said, I've met the kids, I've met veterans, I've met law enforcement officers, I've met people, widows of people who have lost so much, and they would do anything to give it back. So for me, it's like, man, you're just another person in the community. Just make the best out of it. Make it a little bit better. Leave a footprint. If I don't do anything else in my life now, if I know that I impacted a kid or if I impacted a police officer to get up and get going and find the motivation to do it, I'm happy with that. I'm extremely happy with that. So, I'll leave it with this. We have a motto in the softball team. It's called "Life without limbs is limitless." Right? To me, it's like, the concept behind that is like, hey, no matter what you're going through, you're missing a leg. Hey, life without limb is limitless. So now you can continue to, make more out of nothing.
Sure.
And that's all I ask, is I ask people to come to work, do their job, love what you do, and just, keep it going forward.
Awesome.
I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Again, you're probably the most inspirational person that we're going to have on this podcast. And don't get me wrong, all of our guests are
I'm
inspirational.
inspired to keep going now.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to quit. but-
Yeah, well, you're going to quit the podcast? Yeah. We were hoping you would, but fuck.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
So before we end, we actually started a new segment. You're the first guest who's going to be doing this with us. We're asking all of our guests who come onto the podcast now to bring something special with them, something that they're willing to part ways with, but something that means something to them for some reason or another, right? So let us know what you brought for us to keep, because what we're going to do is eventually, once we get our own studio, we're going to have like a living museum of all different items that our guests bring. So let us know what you brought for us.
I brought you a cupcake.
I'm going to eat it.
You already ate it.
So when I first got onto the job, Aaron Slater, he's one of the owners of the Relentless Defender.
Big shout out to
organization.
Relentless Defender.
Yeah, big
Those
shout out.
guys are awesome. First and foremost, they make great t-shirts.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And other products. So if
Yeah,
you
they're
guys
pretty
don't know
awesome.
Relentless Defender, check them out they have huge social media followings, but also on their website. They make great products. And I know they do a lot for law enforcement officers and for Abigail from Texas, and just awesome people. So
Yeah, he does a great job. Him and his whole family are devoted to law enforcement. You know, his wife and his brother-in-law, his sister-in-law, his parents, everybody's in law enforcement.
Yeah.
So he gets it, you know, but they do a lot. And Aaron reached out to me when I first got into the whole police world and said, dude, you're every single thing that we embody in this organization. And, you know, the fact that you're able to continue to move forward, you know, we want you to help out with this foundation, with the nonprofit. They started to, you know, help families of fallen officers and injured on the line of duty and just a really well-rounded family core group of people. So, you know, he flew me down to Houston, and I got to see what they did behind the scenes. And as you stated, Abigail Arias, you know, she passed away from cancer, and you know, she got to opportunity to travel the world. You know,
she actually came to New York City.
came
with
to
the
New York City.
NYPD
Yep.
and with the Blue Lives Matter NYC. So
they did a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and she left an entirely huge footprint for people to know what a fighter and resiliency is. And they kind of did a lot for, you know, the family, the Aries family, and they're super grateful for it. But, you know, I got to see all that stuff in motion, and I was like, dude, I definitely want into this. I want to help out. I want to motivate. I want to inspire. I want to do everything that you do. And, you know, he gave me this hat, and I fell in love, like I said, with his company and with his mission and his organization. I wear this hat all the time. You can see it still has like the little salt from it.
I love it.
From wearing it.
That's
It's got the sweat marks.
And when you said bring something that means something to you, like I
Game
said,
worn.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, what he did for me is create a platform, because that's where I got started with, you know, talking to other law enforcement agencies about my story and getting the story out there. And again, like we talked about earlier, he doesn't look for competition. He doesn't look for anything. He just wants to help. He wants to give back. So for him, it was always about like, what can we do and who can we partner up with to help out? And funny story, I showed up, me and him that same weekend. We said like 2-3 words when we first met. By the end of the weekend, we're getting fucking tattoos together. So I got Relentless Defender tattooed across my arm.
That's awesome,
And
dude.
again, like I said, I fell in love with the family aspect of it and the giving back aspect of it. And like I said, I wanted to continue to give his company, he likes to say our company, you know, but you know, our family, our Relentless Defender family, you know, logo and what they, you know, what they do is essentially what you guys are doing is helping people out. So I want to just give something that'll, you know, help people remember where they're coming from and where they started.
That's great. And now it might be wrong, but didn't you say you wore this the day that you got the call for the academy?
I wore this hat when I got the call for the academy, and I just kind of kept it going. I was like, man, this thing's like my lucky thing. And I was like, you know what? He sends me stuff, so I'm just like, I'll get another one. You know, but just the significance behind it. You know, to me, the logo is kind of like, you know, what really I care about. You know, the hat is just a hat. You know, but the significance behind it is kind of what creates, you know, the narrative. So
I'm honored that you're providing
and
it
you
to us
definitely you stayed relentless, right? That's their tagline.
I would like to say, stay relentless. You know, I mean, I don't think Aaron doesn't know that I'm here, and he doesn't know anything about this hat.
He'll find out soon.
But
once
he'll
he
find out
listens to
soon
this.
enough. So I hope he's proud of it. You know,
I think he is.
Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you having me.
You've been a phenomenal guest. Thank you so
thanks
much
a lot,
for
guys.
coming.
I really appreciate it.
You know, I'm excited to see where you go, because I know you help out a lot of people. You're always doing speaking engagements. You're working with a ton of other, you know, nonprofit organizations. From a fellow law enforcement officer who watches what you do, thank you for helping out all these people, because if it wasn't for you, you know, I don't know if they would have somebody to turn to. So you're doing a great job, and just keep it up.
I really appreciate it, man.
And
Thank you
now
so
you're
much.
part of the muster room family. So
Yeah.
I love it.
we're gonna be bothering.
I
you.
love it. Can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear all the podcasts.
Yeah, no, you will. You will.
Yeah.
So again, thank you for coming. We truly appreciate it. This has been a phenomenal episode. And with that being said, Joe, take us out of here.
Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this show, please leave a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. It goes a long way to getting us discovered by more listeners just like you. This show was hosted by Eric Potts and Austin Glickman. This show was produced and edited by Joe Ryder. Be sure to follow us on social media at The Muster Room. And until next time, have a great day, everyone. And most importantly, stay safe.